All right, guys, welcome to the Mr. GLOAT podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Today, this is not going to be a really long, not really long video, guys. Technically, this might be like a 45-minute podcast. I only have a few topics, ladies and gentlemen, to talk about, and a lot of hilarious things that might be going on in boxing, which I find peculiar. I really don't know what to say about this because this is the most ridiculous type of information I've found in boxing that just makes it more hilarious for me to even talk about because it's like nothing is coming. I thought this was all fake until realizing this is true. But guys, it's kind of weird because in 1962, so guys, here's the thing. In 1962, the WBA, which was actually the NBA, National Boxing Association, from 1921 to 1962, was the organization at the time. And of course, by 1963 is when the WBC came. And of course, in 83, the IBF and the WBO in 88, but yet again, never became major until 2007. But it became a big deal. But of course, it changed to WBA until then. And then suddenly, guys, I looked up information from every single world title. And before you know it, while looking up titles on BoxRec, and then I typed in heavyweight and then cruiserweight, I realized in Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland, had two world titles on May the 10th, last week ago. And they were both NBA light heavyweight and NBA cruiserweight. And I questioned it like crazy. And by the way, the last time the NBA ever had a world title shot, even in 1962, was back in June the 23rd with Harold Johnson defeating Gustav Schultz in Germany by a 15-round unanimous decision. And that was it. And what's crazy because in March the 1st, a couple months ago, Christopher Glenn defeated Brendan Chambers in Maryland Live Casino in Hanover, Maryland on March the 1st for the NBA World Featherweight Champion. And that was an 8-round fight. And the other two fights I talked about on May the 10th that happened a week ago were 6-round fights. Christopher Glenn is 8-1 with 3 knockouts. He's ranked number 288 in the super bantamweight, and he also won the UBO International Super Bantamweight that same night, which is weird because he was fighting for the featherweight. But at this moment, I was like, okay, how is this a world title match? And because at this moment, Christopher Glenn, guys, I don't know who organized this, but this was ridiculous. He defeats Brendan Chambers, a guy that has 10 wins, and now he scored his 4th loss by an 8-round domination with 1 draw. The other 2 fights that happened last week ago are interesting because this is what makes it hilarious. Esri Turner is now 6-0 with his 4th knockout win in a round 3 fight. And I actually looked him up on Facebook, and I found a lot of information on his Facebook account known as Esri Turner Jr., a guy with 4,800 followers, 0 following. And it's interesting because I found information and a lot of hilariousness, such as how it shows video footages of his other spar fights. But then around the 15th, he gets a picture called Just Keep Winning Champ. And it just sees him holding the NBA belt, which is ridiculous because I don't know why. It shows photos of his weigh-in with the fighter he fought against and then his record win. There is footage of a Facebook short that's only a couple minutes long, which shows his fighter stumbling 20 seconds into the first or second round for some reason, which is hilarious. Was it? I think it was the wait. I'm actually watching this Facebook video right now, and yeah, it's round 2, and it's crazy because this fighter wasn't meant to be in the ring. The guy had a 5-1-1 record. His last 2 fights was a draw and a loss, so that disclaims his damage. He comes in round 3 with 45 seconds into the 3rd round, and the guy stumbles out of the ring, getting beaten up by Ensri. And for the next 2 more 1 minute and a half after this, he just goes down, complains about getting hit in the back of the head. It was bad. And even when he stumbled with 30 seconds left of the fight. The referee counts him, tells him to continue, get up. He was knocked down only a multitude of times, like over 3 times in the third round. At that moment, what was the point of the referee continuing? If the guy was going to stumble for no reason, then he had no chance of belonging into the ring. The title of the video, by the way, is called, "They Say If Your Opponent Doesn't Belong in There With You, Then to get them out of there after the fight, he thanked me for the opportunity. Nah, thank you for being a part of my journey. No time see thing." The fight itself was pretty interesting. It was a 6-round fight. It ended in round 3 by knockout at 233. And yeah, the guy's ranked number 210. And I actually gave him a hard up. And I'm also following him on BoxRec. But I wish the guy good luck. It's weird because this fight was so it's kind of weird. This was for the light heavyweight title, but in BoxRec it said that this was a super middleweight fight. His opponent Goldston was 167 3/4, but he was 171 and a half. That's not super middleweight. Super middleweight is 268 pounds even. So I don't know why this would be for the light heavyweight title unless if Goldston defeated Turner, but because he was low on weight, which meant the title was going to be vacant if he won the fight, which means the title was on the line for Turner. I don't know. By the way, there is one more other fight that same night, which was Tyler Langer, a guy that has scored his 5th win. And looking at his picture, this guy has a huge big beard. Not bigger than Duck Dynasty, but this guy took 5 professional fights, and he is ranked in the heavyweight at 368. Tyler Langer is 5'10" from Maryland, makes sense. 30 years old, 5'10", and considering that he's ranked as a heavyweight fighter, he hasn't fought in a heavyweight fight since I would say, since September of 2024. And his debut fight in August a month ago was a cruiserweight fight. He was 200 pounds even. He was 199 3/4 in his 3rd fight against a guy that was over the weight of 200. And his 4th fight in March the 1st was in the same venue where the other guy won the featherweight NBA title. He was cruiserweight. And this fight was also a cruiserweight fight. So reasons why that he's ranked in heavyweight and not cruiserweight, we don't know. He went through 6 rounds, and it took him from August the 24th, 2024 to May the 10th, 2025 to get his 5th win to become a world champion. It's ridiculous. But guys, I just don't know what to say about that. Well, 1 second. I'll be right back in just a second. All right. Sorry, guys. Ran out of gigabytes on my phone there for some reason, but so yeah, guys, back to my story. The NBA, these fights happen in 3 different times of this year in Maryland. I don't know why the NBA, who sanctioned these, but I just find this more ridiculous by the minute. And that's all I have to say about this. It's ridiculous. Oh. Wait 1 second. What the heck? Hello? What the heck? Huh. The heck is this thing? Huh. Wonder what this thing is. Minecraft build better with milk. Look at this. Huh. So it looks like someone left this in the doorstep for some reason. This is weird. Chicken jockey? Wait, guys. Look at this thing. It says something like chicken jockey. Is that what it says? Chicken jockey? I'm not lying. It says chicken jockey right here. Right between that. Chicken jockey. What does that mean? Huh. I better start drinking some of that just to see how it tastes in the future. Huh. Okay, well, that's something interesting. Don't know who brought that out there, but okay. I might as well have to get a glass just for the heck of it. How good this taste. I guess this is good water. What is this? A vanilla True Moo sugar water, 150 calories. Oh, it must be food coloring. Oh. Well, shake and pour. Interesting. Huh. Whoa. Huh. I'll put that in there for later. Huh. Whoa, look at this. Look at this color right here. This is a look at the color of that thing. Wow, a good taste. I can't tell the smell of it, so that's crazy. Just tastes like regular milk to me, but interesting enough. Almost like that similar flavor, just like that Star Wars blue milk that came out last year ago. It tastes interesting. Thank you for whoever gave that to me, unless if it's just a paranormal phenomena. Thank God we're not in the Minecraft world, I'll tell you that. But well, what's chicken jockey? That's weird. I don't know what chicken jockey is, but who knows? Anyway, guys, how about we get back to our topic? That actually has an interesting flavor there. We're already over 10 minutes of this podcast, and things are getting crazier by the minute. So anyway, guys, back to the story. So guys, the NBA was already a title back in the days, but not anymore because it changed to the WBA. And during its final years in life, there were titles that were being fought in countries from Brazil and Japan, Venezuela, and even Germany during its final years. And America had a lot more. Arena in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania back in May the 12th, 1962, with Harold Johnson defeating Doug Jones for the light heavyweight title, was its other match that they won until a month later. He moved to Germany to fight again for the title again. So Harold Johnson had other plans for that. Japan had Ponni Kingpech take on Neil Noguchi, where he actually came out of nowhere and squeaked out to retain the world flyweight title. And that was it. Around that time later, well, several months later, he had, it was actually the WBA belt at that time, and that's when Fighting Harada defeated him by round 11 KO, and that was the start of competition there. Until he won it back in January against him, but then he lost again a first round knockout for a WBC belt that was inaugural at the time. So, but then had a rematch and became undisputed, and well, other fights lost in the future. But there's more to this than meets the eye. But I will say though, there was a lot of interesting, surprising factors here happening behind the scenes, because I was seeing a lot more interesting things happening than what it is. But yeah, the NBA, I still find it a little bit questionable just because of it just seemed like there's just so much problems. I'm just questioning why this is the case, but at the end of the day, I'm just eager to know what's going to happen in the next episode. But for now, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens, because it just seems like there's just so much crazy stuff happening. I just feel like there's something going on in Denmark that I really can't tell what's going on. So For reasons why the NBA belt is active, we're just going to have to find that out. But I don't think we will, because these aren't really titles anymore. But do they deserve to be titles for big fights? I don't think these three fighters that won those titles are going to be big anytime soon. So good luck with that. Good luck with that. Yeah. Anyway, guys, just to cut down to the record here. This is going to be an interesting one. So, guys, I'm already going to do this. So, guys, I'm already going to take a little bit of a good time off here, trying to get through the next podcast. This one's going to be uploaded on Monday. I'm going to take a couple weeks off until June the 2nd to release the Mr. GLOAT podcast of 2 episodes I'm going to come up with. I'm going to do a story about the road to Undisputed Championship for light heavyweight boxing and women's boxing, because I feel like women's boxing and the light heavyweight championship have been a little bit not that interesting. So I'm really interested to know if there's anything here that we could talk about. As I said before, Quissa Shield is going to take on Lonnie Daniels, the IBF champion of the light heavyweight, while She Keneally is still WBA champion, and the WBO belt is vacant because of Quissa Shields a few months ago, and the WBC is still not an active belt as of today, but we're just going to have to wait and see what happens after that. And even though I'm taking a break from talking about heavyweight boxing and other sports, I'm already going to try to follow up on trying to talk about if Mizuki Hiruta can pick up her win, because as of today, which is the Armed Forces Day, as I'm recording this on Armed Forces Day, Mizuki is already going to defend her WBO belt for the 4th time in her 2 years, or under 2.5 years after defending the belt, against Carla Marino. I wish her best of luck of winning this fight. I hope she wins this fight. She should. She's ranked number 1 in the super flyweight division as we speak. The other competitors in the super flyweight of Irma Garcia and Ashley Gonzalez are also champions in Mexico, but not great fighters as much, but they have one piece of the title. Yasmin Artiga is WBA champion, a 33-year-old woman from Tampa, Florida, with 13-0-1 record. It's going to be interesting. I do want to see those 2 Mexicans of Irma and Ashley fight each other for those belts, but it might not happen. And I just don't see an undisputed belt coming into the super flyweight anytime soon for female boxing. So Mizuki should try to take competition seriously. It's great that she's fighting in America. That's great, but I do want to know if, as long as there's going to be no controversies because of this. And guys, I think Mizuki Hiruta could do a good job in the bantamweight. I can see her do a good job, because even though Dina Thorslund is already fighting against ranked number 13 fighter, 14-4-1 and 1 no contest record of Shureda Metcalf for another piece of the title that she already has, which is the IBF belt. And while Trinurka Johnson, a beautiful woman that's the WBA champion as we speak, former IBF super bantamweight champion, and also a great good fighter. It's going to be interesting to know how this is going to turn out for her. But it's going to be an interesting show. I wish her best of luck. But if Mizuki Hiruta, I could see Dina Thorslund and Trinurka Johnson doing something next year for Undisputed after July, when Dina does defeat Metcalf, which will be an easy win for her. But when that time comes, if titles come to place, I think Mizuki Hiruta could just have a one interesting fight off here against any fighter and to be in the top 10 ranks and probably get a good big push of a lucky fight for an undisputed bantamweight fight. So I wish her best of luck for that. I just hope that will be an interesting thing. It will be great to see a Japanese woman fighting for another undisputed belt. And we'll see what happens while time goes on. It's going to be interesting. I do want to try to spearhead the women's division as best as we can to get this a good chance for Japanese women in boxing. It's going to be interesting, and I wish everyone best of luck. It's going to be a huge, interesting, surprising feel as we speak. So we're going to see what happens while time comes, because the bantamweight division doesn't have a lot of interesting competition yet. It does, but not a lot are being fixed yet. But while the super bantamweight is already still being on the fighting line of Ellie Scottney, taking on number 1 ranked super bantamweight fighter Yamileth Marsado, number 1, and she's actually, as we speak, is the WBC World Bantamweight Championship, while Ellie Scottney is fully an IBF, WBO, IBO World Champion. This will be an interesting, good incident to talk about. And even though the other fighter that's the WBA champion, I just hope we get to see some interesting things about that in the future, considering how we're getting a lot of interesting, huge follow-ups on this. So we're going to see what happens and see what's going to happen next. Even though Nazareno Romero is 14-1-2, and she's from Argentina, and she's part of the WBA champion, I think, until she lost against Flores Rascuro last week ago. And this woman is now the WBA champion by split decision. So this is going to be interesting to know how that is going to take place. And even though, like I said before, July the 11th will be the full Madison Square Garden of all women's title fights. And I'm going to be really interesting to see those fights take place, with Alicia Baumgartner trying to defend out her featherweight titles, and we'll see what happens. But for now, let's just try to focus on what will happen just for the heck of it, because at this moment, I do want to take a break from talking about that, because there's not a lot of information to talk about as of right now. But for now, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in the future, and we'll get on with it until then. But we can't wait for this much longer to know what's going to happen. But for now, we'll see how all this turns out. Ellie Scottney is going to get a good win here, even though she's not really a knockout fighter. Like I said before, it's going to be interesting to see these 5 professional fights take place on July the 11th, and that's going to be interesting. And just like I said before, Clarissa Shields is already having her world title fight for undisputed heavyweight against Lonnie Daniels, and it's going to be great. It's going to be great. But, guys, there is one more thing I want to talk about. This will be the last topic I'll talk about before we end this. Even though we're 20 minutes into this podcast, I do want to put 20 more minutes of this for the heck of it, if you don't mind. So, guys, with a lot of interesting things happening in boxing, from the GBC Global Boxing World Council heavyweight title, where Jakob Saglam, ranked 229, takes on Mario Steen, a 24-5 fighter that hasn't fought in boxing since 2010, November the 20th. For reasons why this fight is taking place, I don't know why. This 50-year-old fighter is taking on a 48-year-old past prime German fighter. He hasn't fought for 15 years, and you're giving him a chance for a world title. Don't get me wrong, guys. I still say that these other titles should be legit, because the GBC World Heavyweight title should be one of the 100 minorweight titles that should be legit. Now, keep this in mind, guys. Jakob Saglam has already done something crazy today, because as of recording today, he already scored a round 3 TKO win against D. Florio, a 3-9 fighter, and he picks up his 50th professional win since 2006 to 2025. This guy, I don't know what he is. He as a former BDB German heavyweight cruiserweight champion, and a GBA international heavyweight champion, and even twice as a national champion, and even though he had a lot of chances for other titles, but he started losing a lot of fights, even when title shots against Michael Wallace and Mahmoud Achar and Oleander Solis, another guy that was a good fighter, or even Joseph Parker in 2015, Marco Huck, Hassim Mahmed, that became a little bit of a bummed fighter, but used to be a pride fighter at the time. Morad Aliyev, that's fighting for something next month as we speak. And yeah, the thing is, this guy, man, good luck. Good luck, because this guy's record with 50 wins, 45 knockouts, 6 of his 8 fights by knockout loss. He's 48 years old, and you know what? If he's going to fight for a world title, hey, he might as well. 19 years of boxing. If he fights one more year in 2026, who knows? But I don't know if he will. We even have the GBA, German Boxing Association International title, happening the same night in the same venue, where 2 other fighters for a heavyweight title, so I can't say much about that. And like I said before, Labinot Exodjev is already trying to take on Morad Aliyev, and they're already expecting 2 fights against each other on May the 23rd and June the 7th. And this guy, Aliyev, is fighting him in France twice. And even though Labinot is a guy from the country of Kosovo, representing, but he is living in Germany, his win against Alexander Zakosiev was a pretty good win last November the 23rd, when he defeated the fighter during the Road of the Autumn weight undisputed title fights that happened with Tina Rupertchen, or win against Iri Matsuda. So this is going to be interesting if Labinot can pull out another big victory. I wish him good luck. And as of today, as it is, Willie Kakonye is trying to finally get this fight underway to win the World Boxing Federation World Heavyweight Championship. And I wish him best of luck, because he deserves it more than anything in the world. By the way, guys, we also had Misfits Boxing, where Chase Demore defeated Tanner Tolman, a guy that was 1-0, but wasn't good enough. Wait, was it? No, Alan Belcher, my bad. A guy that was in his debut, and it looked like he was going to go the distance, but knocked him out in round 3 by TKO. And no, not that one. Wait, is it the one? Is this the one? Yes, this is one. Jesus, there's so much weird stuff. Misfits X, pro boxing. My gosh, my brain is not doing good today. Yeah, he takes on Tanner Tolman, a guy that's in his debut of boxing, but he gets knocked out in round 3 by TKO. And Chase picks up his 3rd win, even though his first professional fight was a loss by split decision. But it is what it is. But I don't know if he has what it takes to be in the big time. But that was a good win nonetheless. But guys, the real story will be interesting to talk about, where rematch fights and this or that. We have one information to talk about. Alexander Usyk versus Daniel Dubois. All right, so guys, I've read press conferences. I've read so much information, interviews. It's becoming an interesting thing for Daniel Dubois to just start throwing out every single bit of something that's happened a year and a half ago. It's crazy, but even though this fight's taking place in July, so this is like 23 months after their fight. So here's the information. Usyk defeats Daniel Dubois by round 9 KO. After Daniel Dubois started giving up for no reason and just having Usyk defeat him by round after round, even after the low blow controversy. It's weird that no one is talking about how Daniel Dubois got dominated. It's like they're just talking about the low blow thing over and over and over again. And you're having people talking about groin protections and so many other photos. And you have Frank Warren showing us a photo that shows a completely different angle, where there's another photo that shows an angle that shows Alexander Usyk's belt line here, but Frank Warren shows us an angle right here, which shows this of where Dubois hits.
But then you show this angle where the belt line is here next to the navel. This is where my navel is, right here to the shirt of the end. So you have this, and it just shows them punching right here. Now, guys, I want people to know this. Not trying to get to the inappropriate parts. The bottom part right here, this is where my sausage is. This whole area of this angle is the triangle form of your privates. This right here to my belly, where my gut is where my gut is. So with this and where your navel is from here, this is like when you get punched, the angle of your body will start to vibrate. Now, you can say that Louis Pabin, the guy that reffed the fight 2 years ago, because he did give warning even after the announcer announced the fighters, and then he gave them rules, the referee. Like, guys, if you watch the fight in the start before the round started, referee Lewis gave them instructions. This right here is good. This right here is good. Don't punch below the belt. People have to understand, punch it below the belt, because, guys, even when you get hit below the gut, you'll still feel vibrations that might even disrupt your private parts. And it just you start getting stung. So just because Don Charles and these other people and another guy that was a former boxer, but I tried to look him up and I forgot his name again, started interrupting the Usyk camp when they were in Wembley Stadium at the time, and it's ridiculous. You come out and I forgot his name, but yet again, it's just so ridiculous. They're just talking about how just because you get hit, just because Usyk wasn't putting his boxing glove while he was laying on the ring, while he's trying to breathe, and he's not putting his glove on his crotch where you think he got hit. It doesn't mean that you still have that sensational of getting stung by a punch. Now, if the referee was going to call it a knockout, he would. That's another problem that I'm also questioning. Because this fight is happening in Wembley Stadium, correct? We have a good opportunity that this is not going to go well. It's so bad to see how much of this ridiculousness is happening, because it's ridiculous already for no reason. And just for the heck of it, I really don't know what to say much about this other than how can you even be a fan of this? Because I'm not. I'm not a fan of any of this. And as of right now, I finally found the boxer's name. His name is George Fox. And he's actually the guy that got known for losing in points against a Polish fighter that could barely win 10 fights and have a bunch of losses in his career, by a guy named Kamil Sokolowski. Now, this guy is 39 years old. He's fought since 2014 to 2023. He has 11 wins, 4 knockouts, 28 losses, 3 draws. 4 of those 28 losses are by knockouts. So he's not a good fighter. He is a resident of the UK, but he's not good of a fighter. The guy's start of his career, he picks up his first win against a 4-0 guy, and then his second professional fight takes on Dillian White. That was 11-0 back in 2014. What were you thinking of? And then he starts losing against guys named Cash Ali, another good fighter that was in the time, Sam Saxton, a journeyman fighter. And he even takes on Nathan Gorman, and also another guy that I almost thought was a promising fighter named Sean Turner, which he did defeat Sean Turner back in April of 2017 by a close 8-round points decision, which was another good win. He took on Martin Bacall back in 2017 when Bacall was 8-0. David Price, he's another journeyman. He defeated a 5-0 guy named Naylor Ball, and then he had a rematch with Nathan Gorman in 2018. Nick Webb was another interesting fighter, which he kind of won. Lucas Brown was a past weighted guy, but that guy managed, considering how Camille lost against Lucas Brown, former champion, he did score a knockout on him in round 2 in a 6-round fight, but the referee scored it 57-56 for Brown. He defeated a 10-0 guy and even other fighters, but yeah, he wasn't that good. And even by 2020s, he lost against Jan Kosobotsky, another guy that would have been another promising heavyweight champion fighter. And Vladislav Sirenko, that became
that's now fighting in the U.S. as we speak, as he just came back last year ago. David Adelaide, Solomon Decrees, and Ihor Hulk. And also he lost against Bekadir Jalilov last March of 2022. But I still remember him, not because of his Fraser Clark loss in 2022. He fought against Marcin Siwi, a 25-0 fighter, in September of 2022, and I was pissed. The fight ended in a split decision draw in 8 rounds, and Marcin hasn't fought since, but he is going to take on another Polish fighter soon this year, and I hope to God he loses. He was a bust. But yeah, Kamil Sokolowski's last professional win was against George Fox, the guy that interrupted the Usyk camp in Wembley Stadium. And this guy's resume started out with a pro debut in 2018, and then 4 months later in October, another win. Not a knockout artist. He never got knocked out. His second fight was 21-71-6 fighter. Okay. A 2-3 fighter in November of 2019, a full year hiatus. And then comes back in July of 2021 after a full hiatus of COVID. Picks up 4 wins, all by decision of points, and then takes on the Polish fighter and loses by 79-75 by the judge referee score. And that's it. The guy hasn't fought since, and then he hasn't made it back to the spotlight until May, until he interrupted the Usyk camp in Wembley Stadium. And he's given us information. He even interrupted them while they're in the press conference, which even makes it even more bad. I feel like Don Charles and Frank Warren and even other promoters and other British people like Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, and other people out there in Britain are just tired of it. You know what I'm tired of? Like, they're tired of having Usyk getting away with murder and defeating all their British fighters, from Tony Bellew to Derek Chisora to both Joshua, Fury, and now Dubois. And now they're going to offer a Dubois rematch again. I'm tired of Usyk defending his heavyweight titles against British fighters. It's so bad that Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren are putting so much effort into all of this. And even though Eddie Hearn did have his own interview after Joshua lost his second fight against Usyk, and even during the post-fight interview, he did point out of how Usyk came back strong, and he thought that Joshua all had it in after round 9, but then Usyk came out of nowhere and demolished the 3 rounds, and he was surprised, and he thought that it was a close fight and believed that Usyk won. While in the other promoter's perspective of Frank Warren, he thought Fury won the first fight. Which, don't get me wrong, it was a close fight. I did think it was 114-113, even though I had 115-113, but it would be 114-113. It would have been maybe a 114-113, maybe for a Fury fight, depending on how the scores are. It was still a close fight. Either guy would have won. Or the fight would have been a draw without the round 9 knockout that Usyk scored, which had the fight winning easily for Usyk. But the second fight in December 6 months ago was no. I feel like these British people are just, guys. British people in heavyweight right now have been taking too many title fights, and it's even bad. It's bad that in 2022, around that same time, with everything going on in boxing, you have George Fox now stepping in, trying to defend these people with all of their honor to put themselves back into square one for boxing. But this is not how you do it. It's so bad. And people say that this fight's not going to go the distance. And even though if it might, they think that Dubois might have a chance to go the distance. Guys, when's the last time Daniel Dubois ever went the distance in his entire boxing career? The last time Daniel Dubois ever went full distance in boxing was a long, long time ago. And that distance of 10 rounds of distance was back in October 6, 2018 against Kevin Johnson, journeyman fighter. And he goes 10 rounds of distance. Even in his early careers of fighting, he was going from start to fight to finish. He was winning against fighters that had okay records of 1-0, 3-1, 13-5. 15-1, 8-3, 12-5-1, 8-0-1, and of course, like other fighters, but he was winning them by early knockout stoppages with Nathan Gorman, Azbana Tatev, Kiyotaro Fujimoto, which still pisses me off that he won that fight. I wish he didn't win that fight. And then
he takes in a 10-round fight, loses by a KO fight against Joe Joyce at 36 seconds of the 10th round. So he has to go to 2021 to take on Bogdan Dino, a nobody fighter, but becomes WBA interim champion, which got him a spot a year later. Takes on Joe Casamano for a first-round knockout. Trevor Bryan by 4-round KO in June 11th in Don King Promotions, which good. He was a world champion. He got it in less than 20 fights in his career. And then he goes back to the UK to fight Kevin Lorana, a guy that knocked him down 3 times, broke his leg, and Howard Foster says, no, we're in the UK. We had to have our fighter to stay champion. The WBA, why would you even keep your... Guys, I'm sure Kevin Lorana was more pissed off because he knocked him out 3 times. And in WBA rule sanction says that 3 knockdown rule stoppages and 3 knockdown rules can be effective in WBA fights. But in the UK, they changed it. What else can you say about that? I'm sure Kevin Lorana is still pissed off to this day, and he's now telling Daniel Dubois that karma is a bitch. And you know what? He's correct. Because if that's what happened to Kevin Lorana, if he wasn't going to win the WBA belt on December the 3rd, 2022, come August the 26th, 2023, hits Alexander Usyk with a body shot, calls it a low blow, and then he doesn't do anything else for the next 4 rounds, gets knocked down round 9 by Usyk, only with jabs. That's what ended the fight. It only ended with jabs. Yeah, guess what? Karma's a B. And by the way, he takes on Jarrell Miller with only 8 seconds left of the final 10th round. He doesn't even want to go the distance. He just wants to end the fight. And I'm sure he would have won 12 rounds of distance if he wants to, but that's not how you have to do that in boxing. You have to go 12 rounds of distance to try to find your weaknesses. Like Philip Hrgovic, in my opinion, had a good fight that night in June the 1st. But of course, they screwed it. They say, hey, F Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn sucks. Frank Warren is the best fighter ever. Give him the shot. I'm sure after 2 weeks after Usyk defeated Fury in May the 18th, and then a full month later, he strips it to Dubois weeks after that whole best out of 5 series happened. Yeah, bad enough. Dubois wins by trying to angle headbutt straight to Philip Hrgovic into one of the corner rings in the rings. It was so bad, and the referee just halts the fight to cuts. That is so unacceptable. And by the way, if you want to know the referee's name, his name was John Latham, and yes, he is a British bastard referee. Unbelievable. Yeah, makes sense why Daniel Dubois defeated Philip Hrgovic after cheating, turning his head this way, back and forth. Like he's like Philip Hrgovic is stuck to the ropes and he can't get out of the way, and you're having like he's doing this like Philip Hrgovic is trying to he's getting stuck to the back of the ropes and he's going full Muhammad Ali right now. And Daniel Dubois is just angling his head back and forth, headbutting him right here and there in the middle of round 7 and round 8. And the referee calls a halt because of that and gives Daniel Dubois the win. They even give him a title defense in September for Anthony Joshua. Yeah, that fight was great. But guys, Daniel Dubois has never gone the distance of 12 rounds in his career, and I just don't see any of this working out. Alexander Usyk, who knows, guys? It just doesn't make sense. He is 38 years old, but I just see this being an easy win for him. And Daniel Dubois, it's just a waste of time. There's no point of it. And if he does go 12 rounds of distance, good job for Dubois, but it depends on what the scorecards are at the end, because if it's controversial, it's controversial because this has happened in the UK. Not good. Yeah, to be honest, guys, Daniel Dubois has been getting a lot of lucky breaks. He loses against Joe Joyce, gets a couple nobody fights in 2021 by second round, first round KO wins. The first fight that year was for WBA interim. A year later, he gets a WBA belt, gets an easy win, gets a full overweight balloon guy named, I can't even talk straight right now, Trevor Bryan. He barely squeaks out a win against Kevin Lorana, which shouldn't have been a win for him. Loses against Usyk, takes for Jarrell Miller, gets lucked on against Philip Hrgovic, and then Anthony Joshua in a title defense. He's a 2-time world heavyweight champion, but all I can say is this is just not what boxing should be. Good luck if he wins the fight. We heard reports, as I'm hearing, that they are trying to sign contracts for him to take on Joseph Parker next year. So
we'll see how that goes on. And it's great. If there's true that he has 2 more fights left in him in his career, I would like to see that. So, but for now, guys, we might as well have to wait and see until that time comes. But with that being said, thank you, viewers, for watching this GLOAT podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said before, guys, I won't be doing the next podcast. I'm going to do it on June the 6th. I'll be coming back to do another podcast, which will be Undisputed Heavyweight Women's Championship. And then a week after that, well, of course, I'm still trying to work on the UFC 5. I have so many notes right now to write. This is going to be the most hardest podcast I'm ever going to record in my life. So wish me luck there. But for now, see you viewers in the next video. Goodbye, everyone.